Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres. We'll start off by giving tzedakah, because we do tzedakah, and we're going to be continuing to daven for all the hostages. They should be healthy and safe. And we're going to focus on Yosef ben Chana. Yosef ben Chana should be healthy and safe. Yeah. Okay, we're going to continuing on in this discussion of the success of Parnasa. So what the Rashab has been showing us, that Hashem is in charge, and we know this. So therefore, we've got to recognize that if Hashem is in charge and Hashem wants us to do certain things, what's the problem? Let's go do it. No issues. Let's just do what He wants us, because it doesn't make sense that if we're not going to do what He wants, He doesn't need the Parnasa. We know that it's not that the Parnasa what gives me, that my job is what gives me the Parnasa, my work, my ishtadlus. It's the bracha of Hashem. The blessing of Hashem what gives me the Parnasa. Just Hashem wanted me to do it in this way. And that's what we essentially know. But unfortunately, or fortunately, part of the way we were created is that we have a yetzer hara. We have a nefesh b'hamis. We have a side of us that hides that and covers that and conceals that and makes it confusing to us and makes us think that that's not true. And then he explains this. Today he explains more here. Bottom of 365 in the green, Kuntres mine. And then when we get pulled and we get confused and go according to the way the yetzer hara convinces us, that it makes us this ruach shtus, so we have to do a lot of work. I don't have time to come join a shiur. I don't have time to come to a class on learning. I don't have time to daven with the minyan or go to shul, and all these, and everyone has to. This is the most important part of this whole discussion is you have to think about how this works for you. Meaning, how is my yetzer hara convincing me to do things that aren't in line with what I should be doing? It takes a lot of self-introspection and honesty. And we think to ourselves that this is the right thing to do. As we convince ourselves with our warped and like perverted minds, meaning it's, and this is sort of the problem. What he's saying is we're not realizing that we're off, and this is the problem. So we think to ourselves that I don't have time to do this. So and this is all from the ruach shtus. So Baruch Hu, and what happens? Hashem shows us, and I think he doesn't really say it here, but I think you could say that even Hashem shows it to us, not necessarily we see it. All that work that you're running to be on, you're running to leave the minyan or not go to the shiur. You say I don't have time because I have to go busy work. What happens? Hashem shows you that you do all this work. The guy's in the streets trying to sell, and he's not making anything. It's like, it's not to say, but it's a little bit similar. I once heard years ago, my brother told me this, that there was a guy that he figured out some way of investing in the stock market, like daily trading, and the first hour he would make a killing. He'd make a very good profit. He understood certain patterns that would always happen in the first hour, and he was able to continue going on it and do it every day. He'd make good money. And what would happen? The next 7 hours, he'd sit there and lose most of it. By the end of the day, he'd only get a little bit. And so he was complaining to someone, like, oh, it's so hard, I don't make much money. So he said, what's your strategy? What's going on? So he told him, I have this brilliant strategy in the first hour, and then the rest of the day, I just lose it all. He said to him, so why are you working the rest of this in the next 7 hours? Stick that 1 hour and you're good. And I was like, oh. So this story, it shows us that if Hashem wants us to work an hour, he can work an hour. And also how the Ruach Shtus confuses us. And this is what we're saying. We have to recognize that by davening and learning, it's not taking away. As I said yesterday, it's like that guy said, the tried and tested method to have parnasa, well, is Rambam. So as he said, Rambam, what's wrong going to do with my work? Especially if, let's say, I'm working in business and sales and stuff. It's the sales that I make. It's the way I speak to the person that gives it to me. It's the way my boss likes me. It's as good of a job as I do. I'm going to learn Rambam. How's Rambam going to do with anything? But this is what we're saying. Connect to Hashem, what Hashem wants, and for sure learning to what Hashem wants, and even more, this is connected with the Rebbe, that he wanted us to do this. We're doing these things. That's the right channel. Now, of course, just to make sure we're clear, we're not saying that means you don't have to go to work, or that means you can be lazy at work or not do a good job. Of course, you have to do the right things at work. But when do we know when too far? Is when we're setting up our lifestyle where we don't have time. Now, I can give you a lamashal. Today, I woke up late a little bit, and so I had to daven quick, and I had to rush a little bit. That's not what we're talking about. But if every day I'm doing that same thing, and I'm too late because all the excuses that I'm giving, that's exactly what he's talking about. And that would be wrong. Once in a while, it's just life. It doesn't mean. I got it over now for 3 hours. Doesn't matter. So I'll be working late. Doesn't matter. So Hashem wants you to go to work on time as well. But what we're showing is we have to define when we're losing, when we're not centered, and we're not able to do the things that are meant to be done. Important. Davening and learning, times to connect to Hashem. If we're not doing that, that means we've gone too far. And Hashem pays you back measure for measure. Like it says in the Varim, and it was crazy. You'll see. They're doing things that doesn't make any sense. You become like a crazy person. And explain it, you'll see. And this itself is the shtus. Because he says, someone that's a meshuga, it's like insane, and a shaita and a fool, they're the same thing essentially. Why? Because he meshuga. What's a crazy person? An insane person is doing things that they think they need to be doing, but every normal person is like, that's just insane. When you're in 770, you see some randoms talking to themselves, you're like, that's crazy. But they don't think that's crazy. And that's someone that's insane. We're here, when we do the same thing in the sense of not connecting properly and doing and not giving ourselves time to daven and learn and connect with Hashem the way we're supposed to, we're acting the same way. But it doesn't make any sense. Like any normal person, look at you. I understand. Why don't you don't go to a shiur at all the whole week? You don't learn every day. You don't do chitas. Like what's stopping you? And if we're honest with ourselves, we have time. So we say, I don't have time. So yeah, that's a meshuggah. Doesn't mean you don't have time. We live in a generation, we have so much more time than we ever had, but somehow we're always full. The question, what is the full with? And that's what it's saying. We have to be healthy. Healthy is being able to have time for these things and recognizing that. It says in Shmuel, am I lacking any crazy people? It says in Shmuel. Shekina David, that's how he described David, because David, he came, and he was like, he had saliva like coming out, like it looked crazy. He acted crazy. That was saved his life, but he acted crazy. Kishem Meshuga, Al Shem Shehu Heifech Hadas, because this is illogical and it's going against everything. So what we're saying is that, or the Rav Hashav is saying that when a person is not seeing these things clearly and is totally and we're off kilt, and we're not giving ourselves time to daven and learn and to connect, and we're using the excuse we don't have time for it because we're busy. He's saying that doesn't make any sense. That's crazy talk. That's essentially what we're saying. And all this, and this is all because of this ruach shtus, the Yetzer Hara. Asher im haya mesim liboy lahadvarim hamitim hanal. But if you put your mind on the true reality, which is that Hashem's in charge, and Hashem is the source of our parnasa, and the reason why we go to work is because that's what Hashem wants. And the same Hashem that wants us to go to work is the same Hashem that wants us to daven every day and wants us to learn every day. Everyone according to their mitzvahs and what they have to do. And that's what Hashem wants from us. So how you even so your whole experience would be a totally different experience. You wouldn't have to spend so much time at work. You wouldn't have to put in so much. It'd come much easier, much more enjoyable. You know, like there's that saying that like if you do a job that you love, you're not working. You could say it's the same thing like this. Maybe for some of us, when they go to work, we've got to go to work because we need to make money, and we do it. And it's not if they would have told us, "I'll pay you, you don't have to come," you would never come. And then there's other types of work that you really enjoy. Let's say a person loves cooking and they're a chef, and they say, "Listen, we'll pay you, and you don't have to come." They'll still come because they enjoy it. And the whole experience is a whole different experience. And that whole interaction is a different interaction. That's what we're saying. If we come with the right mindset, then the work is easy. It's quick, whether it's begash is quick, meaning less time, or whether it's quick beruchnis that you don't even notice it. It's day goes by. Oh, that's it. Okay, we'll go home. And you're happy, and you go to learn, and learning is geschmack, and the davening is good, and all these things. He says they would draw to us this chesed from Hashem, this kindness, this parnasa, also with a little of work that we do, with a lot of parnasa. And that's what we're saying. That the key to work little, make a lot, is not work hard in the beginning for many years. Of course, it's coming to work properly and doing all the things properly, but the real trick is making sure our head's on straight, connecting to Hashem, and reminding ourselves that Hashem is the one in charge of our parnasa. And we do know this. This is a natural thing that we know. We just have to make sure it doesn't get lost or confused. Kitzur, Yisrael, the Jewish people, emunazim b'Hashem v'terasi hi atzvis. We have an essential emunah, belief in Hashem. It's not it's not an additional thing. It's not something we learn. It's not like we have to teach someone. We just have it intrinsically. This is what makes us special, or not what makes it. This is one of the special things about a yid. That's what we have. Emunas kol ha'amim gam ha'adukim hi kadavar ha'nikne al yidei davar shechutz mimenu. Whereas every other religion, even the most connected, the most religious, it's davar nesa, something in addition to themselves. Seichel atzmi, there's, like we explained, the essential intellect versus seichel nikne, which is intellect that was acquired. Learning something where something you have naturally, you understand. For us, it's a natural understanding. For them, it's something learned. Everyone knows and therefore, on the same vein, we all know that the blessing of Hashem is what gives us parnasa. It's Hashem that gives it to us. But nifte someone that turns to go according to the Yetzer Hara, we just lose out on parnasa. You're losing parnasa by listening to Yetzer Hara. It says, go work more. And we have to tell ourselves, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I want to make more parnasa. If I want to make more parnasa, I'm not going to listen to Yetzer Hara. I'm not going to run to work extra hours. I'm going to make sure to daven and learn properly. Make sure I'm coming to Hashem. And shaita meshuga inyan echad, like we said in the end today, that the shaita, that the fool and meshuga and the person that's insane, they're really one thing. They're doing things that doesn't make sense. And we have to make sure, to analyze ourselves, make sure, are we doing things that make sense? Or are we chas v'shalom doing things that don't make any sense? And that's a perfect example of this. And when tomorrow we'll start Ma'amer Chava, the perfect example of this is when you think about the whole situation going on in Eretz Yisroel and all these people protesting against Israel. and you recognize this is exactly Meshuggah. This doesn't make any sense. People are complaining about Israel and they want to destroy Israel and all these negative things. And I'm not talking about the people that are vehemently anti-Semites, whatever, the Muslims and people that are really like the ones that are very like anti from the beginning. Some people that Johnny come lately, they came today, and they see what's going on and watch some media, and then they come and they sit there and they make a big storm. It's Meshuggah. And if they just would look at the whole picture and all the facts, they would realize how they're totally off. But this is, and we look at that, hopefully we're like, that's crazy. Like, do you not see, like, this whole thing would have been over if this never ever happened? There was never, on October 7th, there was never hostages taken. We wouldn't be here today. And so you look at it as Meshuggah. And it's very obvious to you, and Mitzvah Hashem it is, and that's very obvious, and that's very good that we know this. We have to recognize that in Lahavdil, but we have the same sort of Meshuggah-ness in our own lives. And that's what we have to figure out where that is and make sure to try to work in it. And we do that, we have more parnasa. Everyone should have an amazing day.